Hello, everybody. Welcome to tonight's show, guys. We got some breaking news for you. Josh Hawley, this bulldog, destroys the Secret Service and the FBI. Whenever he went, this is crazy, whenever he went to the site where Trump was almost assassinated, they didn't even literally want him there. They literally asked him to leave, but he's got more news for you on that. Kamala Harris has just fired Biden's advisors for the presidential campaign. And who else did she pick? But Obama. So she is now teamed up with Obama and his advisors for trying to win the presidential election. Remember, Obama's the grand puppet master. We have Ted Cruz, who rips Kamala Harris and Biden over the border crisis, and it's getting worse. This is breaking news. It's terrible. We need a solution fast. And Dan Bongino reveals secrets about the Secret Service that are bombshells pertaining to the Trump's case. Like, every day we're getting new news. But I want to say thank you to everybody that is watching. Thank you to everybody that is subscribed. If you're not subscribed, please hit that subscribe button. We want to serve you every day with the top news. And thank you to everybody that is a member of the channel that gives donations and the super chats. We appreciate it so much. It's a big blessing to me and my family. And we just want to be a blessing to you and serve you every day with the top news. But let's go ahead. Let's get right into it. Don't forget to click the thumbs up like button right there. And let's get some fireworks to start off the show. Is it coming? Are they? There we go. Let's go. Love it. Let's get right into it, guys.
All right, last week's House hearing on the attempted assassination of President Trump went so poorly for the Secret Service that its director resigned the next day. Her replacement, who is a 25-year veteran of the service, did not fare much better today before the Senate. Take a look.
What more do you need to investigate to know that there were critical enough failures that some individuals ought to be held accountable? I mean, what more do you need to know?
What I need to know is exactly what happened, and I need my investigators to do their job. And I cannot,
a lot of people didn't do their
cannot
jobs.
put my thumb on the scale. Otherwise,
What do you mean put your thumb on the scale?
You're asking me, Senator, to completely make a rush to judgment about somebody failing. I acknowledge this was a failure of the Secret Service.
Is it not prima facie that somebody has failed? A former president was shot.
Sir, this could have been our Texas school book depository. I have lost sleep over that for the last 17 days,
Then
just like you
fire
have.
somebody to
And I will
hold them
tell you,
accountable.
Senator, I will tell you, Senator, that I will not rush to judgment, that people will be held accountable, and I will do so with integrity and not rush to judgment and put people
I can't believe
unfairly
that you
persecuted.
are unfairly persecuted.
Unfairly,
We've got people
sir,
who are
we
dead.
have to be able to have a proper investigation into this, Senator.
And while the acting director faced plenty of very tough questions about the assassination attempt, nobody at the hearing ever tried to claim it never happened, unlike Meta's AI chatbot, which until today was allegedly telling users that the incident wasn't real or never happened. Meta now says that it programmed the AI to not answer questions about the attempted assassination at all, rather than risk inaccurate information being provided. They say they're working on fixing.
Just remember, Meta is Facebook.
Issue. Over at Google, they're also working on fixing issues with search results after Elon Musk helped expose the fact that Trump's name basically will not show up in searches at all. Even, by the way, Harry Truman is faring better online. So surprise, surprise, surprise. Well, turns out big tech is still in the tank for the Democrats. Here with reaction to all of this is Missouri Senator Josh Hawley. Senator, do you feel you got the answers that you needed? And when Marsha Blackburn, brought up the fact that apparently there was an email that said the next assassination in 30 days, reportedly sent by a Secret Service counter sniper. Can you explain that to me?
No, and we didn't get any answers today, Sean. The more questions we ask, the more excuses we get. And what basically the Secret Service said today was that, a whole bunch of people made a whole lot of mistakes and they're not going to fire anybody. I mean, you just played the exchange. The Secret Service director is saying, we need a long process. We need to go through this bureaucratic rigmarole. No, we don't. I mean, listen, there was no Secret Service on that roof There should have been. There was no Secret Service securing the building where the shooter was. There should have been. There was no Secret Service pulling President Trump off a stage. There should have been. And now an American is dead because of it, and Trump got shot in the face. I mean, what more do you need to know? These guys, they need to get with reality.
Can you explain why Donald Trump, and this came up today, was allowed on the stage 17 minutes after reports of a suspicious person? Could we ever get an answer? Did we ever get an answer on why they claim this was a sloped roof when I fell off a roof nearly 3 stories, and as when I was doing roofing, and that's not a sloped roof, and yet they didn't put people around the perimeter, they didn't put sniper eyes on it, because that would seem very basic to me, very fundamental to me.
Well, and what whistleblowers tell me, Sean, is that actually there was law enforcement assigned to be on that roof. I asked the Secret Service director about that today, and he said, well, gee, I'm not sure. And I said, how can you not be sure? 17 days have gone by. But here's the reason why, Sean. Secret Service hasn't even talked to local law enforcement. They've done 0 local law enforcement debrief or interviews since the shooting. 0. I mean, it just begs the question, what is going on? Are they really trying to get the facts, or they're just trying to cover their rear ends? And it sure looks a whole lot to me like the second thing. The American people deserve the truth here, not whitewashing, not stonewalling, not a bunch of bureaucratic gobbledygook. They deserve the truth, and I am not going to stop pushing until we actually get it.
Senator, part of your job and Congress's job is something called oversight. And my understanding is, and you told me that you actually went to the site in Butler yourself and that you were kicked off the property. Who kicked you off the property and why?
The FBI, exactly. I went there myself, Sean, because it is my job to do oversight. And to be honest with you, I don't trust any of these people to give us the facts. And we saw it today. All we get is this stonewalling garbage. So I went there myself, and the FBI, Sean, came on to the property and said, we're doing an investigation. You need to get out of here. To which I said, I don't care what you're doing. I've got my own oversight to do.
Like, this is crazy. He's literally a senator. He's literally on an oversight committee, and they literally kicked him off from just looking at the site. Let me know what your thoughts are in the comments section.
We know back in 2020 that the FBI was meeting with big tech for months every week before the election. They had verified the authenticity of the very real Hunter Biden laptop in March of 2020. And yet they were telling these big tech companies that they may be victims of a misinformation campaign about Joe and Hunter Biden. And when the laptop story broke, which they knew would break because Rudy Giuliani's attorney had it, they wouldn't confirm that it was real, even though they had authenticated it. If you Google the issue of assassination, Donald Trump's name doesn't come up. Ronald Reagan's name comes up. Gerald Ford's name comes up. Meta labeled the assassination as fictional. We know that Meta can't answer questions about Trump, but they had plenty of answers about Kamala Harris. And Facebook falsely labeled the real picture of Donald Trump with his fist in the air and a bloody face and ear as fake. So it'll be once again in the middle of an election cycle where big tech is putting cinder blocks on the scales of an election, and that the FBI is doing the same? Is that where we're back at? Back to the dirty Russian dossier used as FISA application information?
Yeah, it looks to me like big tech is back to its old tricks, Sean, even as they got their hand out, by the way, and are getting subsidies from the federal government worth billions of dollars. They're trying to sweep this under the rug. And the Secret Service continues to stonewall. The FBI, too, Sean. They ought to be out there giving us the facts. We have learned more from whistleblowers coming forward than we have from any of these guys. It is time for them to level with the American people, and it's time for people to resign and be fired for what happened to Trump and the other folks who got shot.
Please bring these whistleblowers forward. Bring them on this show. Bring them before Congress, and we need to hear from them.
That's the craziest thing. Just think about it. The FBI, the Secret Service, they're not giving us details. They're not letting us know what happened. We're literally hearing all these news breaks from whistleblowers, and then that's whenever, once we hear from the whistleblowers, then we confront the FBI and the Secret Service, and then that's whenever we start getting answers. It's completely backwards. But what it does tell you is that they're trying to cover something up. Let me know what your thoughts are on this. It's literally heartbreaking because it's like we're supposed to be able to have transparency within the government. We're supposed to be able to trust the government. But how come they can't tell us nothing? And the only way we learn about things is because people leak out what's actually happening. Let me know your thoughts in the comments, but listen to what Dan Bongino has to say. This just continues to blow my mind of what we're seeing with this whole incident and issues.
I was sent on a temporary assignment over to Russia. I volunteered for it, Moscow. We had a what they call an RO, a resident office over there. If I'm boring you with the details, please stop me in the chat, but the story and the details matter. I was sent over as a temp. I was there a little over a month because the guy there before, a guy by the name of Charlie, I'll leave last names out of it. A guy by the name of Charlie was what they call PNG, persona non grata, meaning the Russians kicked him out of the country. It's a long story as to why, but it was a retaliatory measure for something the United States did to a Russian here. Because the Russians, they never do what they're telling you. This is why I love when people tell me about Russia. I don't know. I've been there twice. I know a lot about Russia, probably more than most journalists. The Russians do things they can put in a paper to make it look like they're sticking it to the United States. Because we have the name the Secret Service, even though there's nothing secret about us, it's a protection agency, they knew the average Russian citizen would think we were like spies, like the CIA. So instead of kicking out the FBI that actually does intelligence overseas, what they did is they kicked out the Secret Service guy, Charlie, because they could put Secret Service. Everybody, oh my gosh, we kicked the spy out. You get it? The Russians, though, however, didn't want to burn their relationship with the United States. So they said, tell you what, we're going to wink and nod and kick your permanent guy out, this guy, Charlie, who was the boss over there, but we're going to let you rotate agents in. I was the second group of agents that got rotated in. It was 2 people at a time. Here's where the story gets bananas. You guys don't know this, right? I never told you this? The guy I got sent over with to work the Russia office in Moscow in our embassy for a good amount of time is now the boss of Donald Trump's detail.
Wow.
Does this whole story make sense now? I've known this guy 20 years. The same guy. Let's call him Jack. It's the same guy. So when me and him were in Moscow, we noticed something interesting. I'm going to ask you to put that piece up again in a second. The Secret Service had hired an FSN. FSN is short for a Foreign Service National. Her name was Anna. That's her real name. Well, that's what she told us her real name. I'm not going to mention her last name because it doesn't really matter, but her name was Anna. And from the first night, let's just call this other agent I was with Jack. From the first night, we realized that Anna was very, very suspicious and odd. Anna would ask a lot of questions, totally inappropriate for someone hired as basically an administrative assistant. And we noticed that Anna had a really unusual interest in a lot of what the Secret Service did. Ladies and gentlemen, we noticed this on day one. So this other agent and I, Jack, we started talking to each other and we said, this is kind of a problem. By the end of the first week, we knew absolutely that this woman was probably a spy.
Wow.
We would go and meet with the Russian FSB, the former KGB, and they would know her right away. Oh, hey, Anna, how are you? And we would look at each other like, but I mean like know her. I don't mean like, hey, did we meet? I mean like, oh, hey, how are you? Couldn't have been more obvious.
Wow.
The woman was up to no good. So this other agent, Jack, and I, who's now running Donald Trump's detail, by the way, he was smart. Known this guy a long time. He said, I think we should do the right thing and notify Secret Service headquarters. I said, you're damn right. That's what we're going to do. So that's exactly what we did. We sent emails back saying, listen, the gist of it is you got a freaking spy in here. We took all of our manuals and everything else, and we put them up on a different floor, let's say, in the embassy to make sure she couldn't see them. But she had access to them the whole time. Manuals, like protection manuals and everything else. We sent that email thinking they would get back to us, to management, and be like, oh my gosh, great job, guys. Like, farming out a spy here. Like, fishing out a spy, right? That's not the response we got at all. The response we got was basically, how do I say this? Go fuck yourself? Pardon the language, folks, but that was basically it.
Wow.
Like, you guys should probably shut your pie holes and never mention this again, which we were like, no, and we sent back another email. That were... Put up that article again. Notice the date on this article, August 2nd, 2018. Ladies and gentlemen, I can't pinpoint the exact time I was there. Forgive me, I just don't remember. But I'm telling you, it was around 2004, 2005. Dan, this article's from 2018, 15 years later. 14 years later. What? You're saying you sent an email with your guy and it took them 14 years to figure it out? Yeah, that's what I'm telling you.
Wow.
And notice the Secret Service's statement 14 years later. Their statement is, at no time in any Secret Service office have FSNs, like Anna, Foreign Service Nationals, been provided or placed in a position to obtain national security information. Right. The State Department said it wouldn't comment on allegations related to intel or personal matters, and we have no information for you on this alleged incident. Really? You sure about that? I'm willing to testify under oath that that statement is fake. I would guarantee you so is Jack, because Jack has the email, by the way. You know why the Secret Service didn't do anything? Because the Secret Service management culture, which I've been writing about, giving interviews about, one of the reasons I resigned my job and gave up this glorious government pension and benefits and everything, I had no job after that, was precisely because I wasn't going to be a part of this broken culture anymore.
Wow.
The Secret Service cares about...
This is very honorable. I will say this. Let's get some likes on the video for Dan Bongino.
Thing. CYA, covering, well, CTA, covering their asses. And they care about another thing, luck. The Secret Service has been lucky for probably 30 years. They didn't get luck, well, not even 30 years, because George Bush had a grenade thrown at him in Tbilisi, Georgia. And again, that changed things for about 2 weeks, too. Folks, the Secret Service can't continue to exist. They haven't like it is now. They have a totally broke...
This is crazy. This is coming from somebody who worked in the Secret Service. This is coming from somebody who's been around this their entire lives. And for Dan Bongino to be saying this is a lot, guys. Like, this just tells us essentially how corrupt something is getting.
In culture, there are people out there who have been whistleblowing on this forever and absolutely nothing has changed. That story in The Guardian, it's about me, and I'm willing to testify under oath to anybody who wants to hear it. I was there, I saw it, we called it out, and the Secret Service did absolutely nothing.
Absolutely nothing. That's the worst part about this. And when you think about it, they're supposed to be protecting like Trump, which we're finding. The worst part about everything that we're finding is that we're finding that after the fact from whistleblowers. So then whenever it's the FBI or the Secret Service is confronted, then it's even worse because they didn't come out and say it themselves and take accountability. And so this is just huge. All this breaking news that's coming through, we want to bring this to you guys and just want to say thank you to everybody that is watching. If you haven't clicked the thumbs up like button right there, if you don't mind doing it, it really helps to grow the channel. Thank you so much for all your support, your donations, your super chats. It really helps to bless our family. But check this news out because Kamala has 100% ditched Biden through and through. Like, I can't believe how fast she has ditched him. But now she is siding with Obama 100% and is even using Obama's key advisors as her own campaign team now in this presidential election. Check this out.
For Kamala Harris, but fear the Veep could break their heart once voters start paying attention.
Kamala mania. Kamala mania, just energy, energy, energy. She has not done any major interviews. There's opportunity for her to do well there or not. She certainly hasn't got a chance to debate Trump yet. So there are things on the horizon. But where she is right now, sometimes the person makes the moment, and sometimes the moment makes a person.
Exactly.
This was a moment that was crying out for some kind of breakthrough, some kind of hope.
Now, while Kamala's been getting glowing media reviews, she hasn't answered reporters' questions since Democrats tossed Biden aside and anointed her the nominee. Well, until last night, when she was forced to speak off the cuff and offered up one of her word salads. Watch.
This is just an extraordinary testament to the importance of having a president who understands the power of diplomacy and understands the strength that rests in understanding the significance of diplomacy.
Her team later tried to cover up her non-sentences by tweeting out a completely different quote with apparently what she meant to say. And now, President Trump and J.D. Vance are directly calling out the media for constantly putting Harris up on a pedestal.
Now the media's taken over and they're trying to make her into Margaret Thatcher. But I don't think that's going to work. She was the worst vice president. She was the most unpopular and least respected vice president in the history of our country.
Yes,
and now what's happened is the press is trying to make her popular.
Kamala Harris is a chameleon. She goes to Georgia 2 days ago. She was raised in Canada. She puts on a fake Southern accent. She is everything to everybody, and she pretends to be somebody different depending on which audience she's in front of.
And now, as part of Kamala's rebrand, the VP is completely ditching Biden's campaign advisors and running to replace them with Obama campaign veterans. Jessica Tarloff.
This is nuts.
You know how sometimes when Trump talks off prompter, some of us get a little like, okay, where are we going here? When Kamala Harris talks without a teleprompter,
it's bad.
How does that make you feel? Be honest, Jessica.
Oh, well, now I have to totally change my answer. She doesn't always do great, and everybody knows that. And the people who are voting for her know that, and it's the job of the people who are running on the other side to be making more out of those moments and seeing if you can pick off independent voters with that. Because this is now a base election. Democrats are thrilled with what's going on. We're donating money. It's the biggest fundraising month in history, $310 million. 2/3 of those are new donors. People are jazzed. We're ready to go. And it's going to be a couple 100,000 people in 5 to 6 states, right, that are deciding this. So keep running it on loop, but that's certainly not stopping any of us. J.D. Vance calling Kamala Harris a chameleon when he's now running with a man who he said might be America's Hitler is beyond comprehension. And for Donald Trump to be talking about how easy of a time that she's getting, she's just coasting by, he at this point is basically getting a free ride to continue talking about, like I've said, electrocuting sharks and all of it. Oh, no, it's true. People have it so baked in.
Between whether you want to get eaten by a shark or electrocuted by your EV.
Oh, I didn't realize that. Well, then all of it makes sense. Donald Trump is really flailing at this particular moment. He has spent the week trying to post pictures of Kamala's Indian family to claim that means that she isn't black. And Kamala Harris has been barnstorming all over the country. She had a huge rally in Atlanta. And like I said, the enthusiasm is up. And the forecasts now are even slightly favoring her. Rasmussen, which is Trump's probably favorite pollster, has her up 5 points. It's a good week for Kamala Harris and not a good week for Donald Trump.
Okay, Judge Janine.
She is in a honeymoon.
Let me ask you this, though. Do you honestly believe what the polls that we're seeing that are coming out? Because I don't see how within 1 week Donald Trump can go from being almost 70% gonna win the election to now barely over 50%. Excuse me. I don't know. You tell me, chat. What do you think?
period. I mean, there's no question about it. But I want to say, will the real Kamala Harris please stand up? You know, we've been subjected for the past 3.5 years to word salad, and of course, in her first unscripted comment since she became the designated candidate. Now she is officially the designated candidate. The first one was a word salad. You know, when you don't know what to say, you just keep repeating what you just said. And even her own campaign had to come out and clean it up. It reminded me of the Joe Biden cleanup team. But she is inauthentic. She is bizarre. She cackles. We don't know what her public persona is. And that's just talking about what we're seeing on the outside. Now she's adopting Republican talking points. Now she believes in fracking when she didn't believe in fracking. And now it's like, you know, all of a sudden, you know, we're not going to mandate that we take away your guns. And she doesn't want the single payer health care anymore. I mean, now she's like a Republican. I don't know what she is. And so when she adopts these Republican positions, when she has an accent in a state where she never grew up in, you know, I agree with Van Jones. Van Jones is worried. He's worried for good reason.
Do you believe that this is a tight race and it's going to come down to just a couple handful of voters in a few key swing states?
Yeah, and I think that the race is going to swing like those swing states. I think Trump's going to be up a little bit. I think she is going to be up a little bit. And I think what it's going to come down to in the end, when people are either early voting or they're in a voting booth, they're going to think about how they're going to feed their families.
Yep.
And for a lot of people, you know, these two candidates are so unique and hysterical because we swapped in Kamala Harris, who's as big of a gaffe machine as Joe Biden. And so when you watch President Trump, you spit out your coffee because you cannot believe what he just said. But don't worry, you're not going to go hungry because she feeds you a constant word salad and you're not going to unring that bell anytime soon. Like, she will continue to say stupid things. She will be incapable of defending her own record.
Guys, I got a clip for you in just a moment. It's hilarious what she says. I got this for you after this video.
If she could defend her record, she would have been able to handle the Tulsi Gabbard jiu-jitsu that she served up to her during the 2020 race. Anytime her record is truly challenged by someone, she gets this sourpuss look on her face, and then she cackles, and then she gets really serious, and then she says something stupid. So we need to put her in a position where she is going to be much more honest about her inability to defend the incomprehensibly bad decisions she made as DA, Attorney General, Senator, and Vice President, because she has a god-awful record, and her personal peccadillos are nothing in comparison to her trail of failures. Other than that, I think she's great.
Other than that, she's great.
Yeah.
Do you think Kamala Harris is smart?
Speaking as a guy who went to community college and majored in Atari, I feel like this is a trick question. Let me tell you what I know. She has a major fundraising advantage because at her speeches they can charge people to get out. Okay, you can't do that with a traditional candidate. There's just the one fee. This time they're hitting her on the back end. Here's the real performance art of this, and we know it to be true. And I'm not trying to make it all about me or my Saturday night TV show, Fox News Saturday Night with Jimmy Fallon.
What
you can all watch at 10 p.m. Eastern on Fox News Channel. We coined a phrase last week. It's called fomentum. It is a fake momentum. This was not a good week for her. It was a good week for the people propping her up, who wanted her off the ticket 3 months ago. But now that they have her on, they're all in. But you know they don't believe in her, or they wouldn't be making the effort to strike her record clean. We're like a day away from the media saying she was never VP. Okay? They've disavowed everything she's ever done. So I think the challenge here for her is to minimize her actual exposure and let the myth building be done by the media. If it really does come down to the candidate, there's no chance I don't think she's going to win because they don't think she's going to win. Okay, if they thought she was strong, Biden would have been pushed out of here like a year ago. Okay, and that's why I think this is going to end with the surge coming face to face with reality, which is that she is Kamala Harris. For whatever that means. Smart, not smart, she's that thing. You can say smart. Listen.
Tax and spend liberal.
No one thinks she's that smart.
Destroy the economy.
Jessica,
Not true.
yeah, no one. She's not smart. Everybody knows she's not smart. Even she knows she's not that smart, Jessica. When you hear about the Obama team now taking over, does that make you feel happy? Does that make you feel worried? What do you think?
Well, it's not the full Obama team. It's David Plouffe, and I think that's a really smart hire. Why wouldn't you want David Plouffe on your team. He's coming on as a senior advisor. She hasn't pushed Jen O'Malley Dillon out. She's using the same pollsters. The infrastructure is still there, but she wants as many talented, smart people who have gotten Democrats elected as possible in her orbit. I think it makes a ton of sense. And he'll be a great influence on this. You want as many people, and this is what we always say with the clips of James Carville. It might have been races in the 90s that he won, but anyone who has managed to pull this off, it's an incredible feat to get someone elected president of the United States of America. Yep. You want them as close to you as. Why are you looking weirdly?
No,
like
something in my ear. It has nothing to do with you.
Oh, nice. Okay, well, for now. Anyway,
guys, this is hilarious. Some of this stuff, guys, we got to be able to laugh about it. We got to be able to enjoy this. I got this video of Kamala Harris speaking. It's hilarious, but you got to see this because sometimes you got to think, these are the people that are running the country. Come on.
A country.
Look, check it out.
Ukraine is a country in Europe. It exists next to another country called Russia. Russia is a bigger country. Russia is a powerful country. Russia decided to invade a smaller country called Ukraine. So basically, that's wrong. Ukraine is...
Like, you didn't say anything. Guys, sometimes I just think, how in the world do these people get to the positions that they are in when they can't even articulate a sentence with context in depth or to convey what they're trying to say? I don't know, guys. Let me know. I mean, if I spoke like that, I don't know. Should I start speaking like that? Ukraine is a country. Russia is a bigger country. I can't help it, guys. This is too funny. But we do have another issue, guys. We got a bad problem at the border. Ted Cruz brings some new insight into what's going on. It doesn't look good. We need a solution. This is why a lot of people are really fed up with the Biden administration, and that includes Kamala, because she was the border czar, because of what you're about to see. Let me know your thoughts in the comments.
Officer was shot in your home state of Texas. I understand by an illegal immigrant. Is that true, sir?
No, that's exactly right. It was an illegal immigrant. It was a Venezuelan who was actually set to be deported, and then a judge delayed the deportation, and he went out with a rifle and shot a San Antonio police officer. And this is happening. I appreciate, I always enjoy your monologue, Sean, but tonight was powerful. It's important to go through the victims, because this is something I said in Milwaukee at the convention. It is every damn day. Every day, someone is being shot. Every day, a woman is being raped. Every day, a child is being assaulted by illegal immigrants that Joe Biden and Kamala Harris have released. And every one of our families are at greater jeopardy because they keep releasing violent criminals into our communities.
I've talked to Laken Riley's family. I've talked to Jocelyn Nungari's family. As you know, they were on this program. I talked to her grandfather, too, and her mother. I've talked to Rachel Morin's family, the mother of 5. These families are never going to be the same.
Never.
What's so infuriating about this, Senator, well, there are a couple of things. All of it's preventable. Nobody in the media seems to care. The people that, will take one murder, one case, and run with it, and every life matters. All of a sudden, if it's the summer of 2020 and she's tweeting out a bail fund, that doesn't matter. A bail fund that lets out murderers, or, the summer of 2020 riots. All of this, all these deaths by illegal immigrants they've allowed in the country, we don't hear about their names. We don't meet their families. We don't hear about their lives. Why?
Look, you're exactly right. I've been with Jocelyn Nungari's mom, with her grandfather, her mom Alexis, her grandfather Kelvin. The pain, the agony. You and I are both fathers. There's nothing worse on earth than to lose a child, except maybe to lose a child in these circumstances where you know the horrors of your daughter's last moment on earth. And these are happening day after day after day. And I'm going to say something that sounds harsh, but Kamala Harris, Joe Biden, my opponent, Colin Allred, they do not care. Now, why do I say that? Because if they cared, they would change the policies that are making this happen. They would stop today releasing another illegal who's going to kill someone tomorrow. And they keep doing it day after day after day. So when someone is killed, when a child is assaulted, they say, I care. I'm so sorry about it. But no, they don't if they keep recreating the problem. And Sean, the only reason they will not change it, listen, we've had 11.5 million illegal immigrants enter under Joe Biden and Kamala Harris. Kamala wants that 11.5 million to be 20 million, to be 30 million, to be 40 million, because she looks at them as future Democrat voters. And it is the most cynical transaction. They want votes and they want power. And if our children have to be at risk, if our family have to be at jeopardy, they're willing to make that trade-off. And I got to say, in terms of public safety, that and the threat of terrorism for open border, I think those are the most compelling issues on the ballot in November.
You know, I'm going to raise your harsh, and I'll say it. I've said it before. I'll say it again, and I'll say it every day till Election Day. They have blood on their hands, Senator.
They do.
They've allowed this to happen. They bear responsibility in these crimes because they lied to us for 3 years. The border's secure, the border's closed. Now, I want to ask you this question. Because some people, I've run into people, talk to people every day. I do a 3-hour radio show. As you know, we're on 750 stations. I talk to a lot of people around the country. And, you know, a lot of conservatives, Republicans, oh, no, what is it? What's going to happen? They got rid of the cognitive mess Joe. Kamala might be harder. I contend this. If America learns the record that I just went through in this monologue, there's no way in hell she would have a chance of ever being president of this country. Now, the media is going to protect her. Democrats are going to defend her. I didn't even mention that she surrendered in the war on terror with Israel. I think the answer is making sure, and this is the Trump campaign's job, not mine. They got to make sure America knows the real story of Kamala Harris.
Exactly.
And I don't know how they tell that story, but that would be their mission in my view. That's how they win.
Look, I absolutely agree. Joe Biden, for the last 4 years, has been a puppet. He's barely aware of what's going on around him. Others, the radical left interest groups, are pulling his strings. Kamala is very different. She is a true believer. Look, I served in the Senate with Kamala. I know her well. She believes every bit of this. As you know, she was ranked by a nonpartisan tracking service as the single most liberal U.S. senator in the entire body. As you just played, she considers herself a radical.
Chad, I just asked the question, do y'all, and I want to know, let me know in the comments, do you think that they should be impeached, Biden and Harris, over the border? I honestly do. I think they should be impeached. I think that they purposefully have led all these people into the country. These people have committed crimes. They've destroyed families. And it's not a good thing. And they need to be held accountable. Let me know your thoughts.
Believes in this and is pushing this, but we've got to make it about her extreme record. And the media, the corporate media, is going to spend billions of dollars doing this PR campaign where they're going to portray her as a mix of Mother Teresa and Oprah and Gandhi. And they're going to do everything they can. They're also going to keep her very, very tightly scripted. Like Joe Biden in the basement, she's going to read from the teleprompter. They don't want her cackling. They don't want her committing gaffes. And it is dangerous. And you're right. It's incumbent on the Trump campaign. It's incumbent on every one of us to focus on her record and to say, listen, the open borders that she champions, does that make your life safer? The out-of-control spending that's driving inflation and the war on energy, does that make your family better? And look, just last week when Benjamin Netanyahu spoke before a joint session of Congress, Kamala Harris boycotted the whole thing because the radical anti-Israel extremism, whereas you just played a minute ago, she says the problem is not the enemies of America that want to kill us. The problem is we need to have the courage not to say the words radical Islamic terrorism. This is a battle for our country, and we got to stand up and speak the truth.
All right, Senator, and your race is very important as well, too. We need you back in the Senate. And I know they've been spending, you're the #1 target at Chuck Schumer, and we need you back in the Senate for sure.
Can you believe that? Like, they're really trying. They're putting a lot of money behind the opponent going against Ted Cruz to try to get him out. I think he's done a phenomenal job in Texas. You know, I feel like him, Josh Hawley, Josh Kennedy, I think he's out of Louisiana. I think they've done phenomenal jobs in not bowing down and really pushing hard, asking the hard questions to make sure that people are held accountable. But we got this video of Trump talking about his faith. Guys, let me know what your thoughts are. Because I'm telling you what, that the attempted assassination shook him. And I don't think he's ever going to be the same. Check this out.
Trump has the tough guy image, but there's a side of him we don't often see. Here's more of our conversation with former President Trump. You has said something after Iowa, winning Iowa, which a lot of people talked about when you said, I love American cities and I'll work with anyone, Democrats, independents, Republicans, to fix those cities.
It's true.
Where would you start? What city would you like to start with on a federal, to the extent you can have partnerships?
It's so sad to see what's happening. Now, for the most part, you have to work with Democrats. They're all, the 25 worst cities are essentially
but you've
all
done that before.
Democrat. I've worked with Democrats. I lived in New York. Do you know, New York went bad when I left. Okay, think of it. New York, when I was there, was great. When I went to Washington, I left New York. I went to Washington. It started going really bad. We had a very bad mayor, but it took a little while, even with him as mayor. He was a terrible, now he's teaching at Harvard how to run something. He couldn't run anything, de Blasio. He was a terrible mayor, incompetent man. Now we have a man that's very much trying. It's a hard thing for him because you have so many migrants coming into New York. It's hard for him. I hear he likes me a lot, but I hear that only through the grapevine. Maybe.
Will you work with him to try to help New York?
I work with him. I'm going to give them funds. We're going to try and rebuild these cities. Chicago. Look at the crime. So on July 4th, 117 people. This is a weekend. 117 people were shot. 17 died. 17 died.
Wow.
This is in Chicago.
You don't ever hear about it on the news.
I believe it was at Normandy, at the 75th anniversary of Normandy. I'm going to ask again. What do you pray for? I know you don't like to really talk about this, but I think most people across the country see you as an important figure, a critical figure at a desperate time for the country. They think that, and they want to know that you believe there's something more than just this movement.
Well, I do. I think one of the reasons that our country has lost sort of everything, it's lost so much, is we don't have religion to the same extent. I mean, you look at those charts, they're so sad. I mean, it's just going bad. And the Democrats were violent and ruthless to religion during COVID. What they did during COVID, people weren't even allowed to meet outside, and they were 10 feet apart in some big field. They'd arrest everybody. They were fascists. They were horrible. That was a very bad time for organized religion. But religion, you know, it gives you some hope. Gee, if I'm good, I'm going to heaven.
Do you believe in heaven?
I do. If I'm good, I'm going to heaven. And if I'm bad, I'm going to someplace else, like over there, right? But it gives you, there's something that is so good for a country. We lost a lot.
When you pray, what do you pray for?
Well, I pray for our country. I pray for the same thing you pray. Our family and our country. We have a family, we have a country. And I guess we have a world. I pray for the world too. I stopped what could have been world wars. We are very close right now to a world war.
Yeah.
When you look at what's going on with Russia, Ukraine, we're spending billions of dollars. Now they want offensive weapons so we can go in and hit Moscow and this. Let me tell you, we're very close to a world war. The Middle East is ready to blow up. The Russia-Ukraine thing is much more serious than you even know.
Are you worried about the Hezbollah attacks in Israel? Obviously, children's body parts were being picked up.
Yeah, they're the Iran attacks. Look, I had Iran. They had no money. They were broke. Now they have $300 billion.
Wow.
They made it all in 3.5 years. I said to China, if you buy oil from Iran, you can't do business in the United States anymore. Plus, I'm going to put 100% tariffs on everything you do send us, okay? So remember this. They weren't buying anything. Nobody was. Iran was broke. And I want to say this to Iran because they're listening and, you know, they've got their ways. They would have been happy. Everybody would have been happy in the end. Everybody would have been happy. Iran would have been happy. They just can't have a nuclear weapon. Iran cannot have a nuclear weapon. If they do, it's a whole new world order, and it's something that's going to be obliteration. I mean, and we have a man who's grossly incompetent negotiating. Now we have a woman, I think she's actually more incompetent than him. She really is. She's more incompetent. I believe that she, Kamala, is more incompetent than Biden.
Hey, Sean Hannity here. Hey,
And
click here.
Let me know your thoughts because, I mean, I feel like Biden was just so easily controlled by the by other people. I feel like Kamala Harris has more of an opinion, but at the same time, too, I also think that she can't put two words together just like Biden could. I mean, you went from Obama, who was about the most articulate, spoken president we've probably ever had, just could speak so well, and then you go to like Biden and Harris, and they can barely like put two sentences together. But I 100% think that people really believe that Trump is going to do something great, and he's going to get this country back on track. What I love, let me tell you this, guys. There is bad people on the Republican side, and there's bad people on the Democrat side. I believe that there's corruption in both sides. But what I prefer is the words and consistency that come from Donald Trump are more about taking care of Americans, putting Americans first, and making sure that we're good. What you hear and what you see a lot from Biden and Harris is everybody else. Illegals and all these other things and in other countries and not really making sure that, and not gaslighting, not just lying boldly to our faces. That's what I feel. Let me know your thoughts. I want to say thank you to everybody that's watching. To all of our subscribers, thank you so much for supporting the channel. If you're not subscribed, please hit that subscribe button so we can serve you every day with the top news. I just want to say thank you to everybody that's hit the thumbs up like button. It's right there. It's really helped to grow the channel. Thank you for all the super chats and donations. We love and appreciate you, and we just want to continue to serve you every day with the top news. We'll get some fireworks for the show tonight, guys. Thank you so much. Y'all been great. We will see you in the next one. Take care. Bye-bye.